Hello, how's everyone doing? I'm Raikar and in this video we're gonna talk about the project's elemental system. As most of you know, elemental systems are a big part of the monster gaming genre, and with this project it wouldn't be any different. Everything is energy, and the creatures of this world have special connections with certain types of energy, such as fire energy, water energy, electric energy, and many more. Due to these special connections, nearly all of them are able to perform all sorts of incredible techniques and moves with the use of these elemental light powers. Let's look at Pinglux here, for example. All Pingluxes have special connections to the frost energy, which basically means that they are more prominent in using abilities that are related to ice and snow. Now let's have a look at some of the existing energies. Here we have the fiery energy, water energy. Some names I might change in the future, like instead of fire energy calling it fiery energy or flaming energy, things like that. Air energy, earth energy, plant energy, electric energy, frost energy, metallic energy, sonic energy, which has to do with sound, light energy, shadow energy, psychic energy, toxic energy, crystal or crystallic energy, magmatic energy, pure energy, cosmic energy, sweet energy, slimy energy, healing energy, and many more. There are other types of energies that exist, but that I'll keep them secret for now. And also an idea that I had a long time ago is that there are actually infinite types of energy, and new types of energy being discovered would be a theme for the project. Like imagine that a creature that specializes in controlling plasma appears, and so plasma becomes officially a type of energy in which some creatures are specialized in. I still have to see if that's really a good idea, cause this could lead to having an elemental sart that is way too cluttered, but I really like this concept, so we'll have to discuss more about it. One of the reasons that made me choose the term energy instead of types or elements is that in the start I wanted to go with elements to deviate from the term types that is already used by Pokemon and a lot of other monster taming games as well, but then I found the term elements a bit limiting, cause it didn't really allow me to have equivalents to certain concepts as Pokemon's fighting or ghost type. I actually created the melee element, but hand-to-hand combat doesn't really make sense as an element. I also wanted to have explosion being an element, so I came up with the combustion element, but again it doesn't really make sense, so I decided to change to energies to keep it original without resourcing to types. The term energy allows for some more creative elements, like brutal energy, which is my equivalent of the fighting type, and explosive energy, which the idea came from this guy right here. Another thing that I want to talk about is the fire and magma dilemma. This is something that I thought a lot about. Normally, fire and magma are treated as the same element in almost, if not in all franchises. In Pokemon, for example, all magma based moves are either fire or ground type, like eruption and earth power, showing that they are aware that lava and magma are actually molten earth, but still treat fire as the main type, where they put everything heat related, as you can also see with the move Heatwave also being a fire type despite not having actually fire on it. On Avatar The Last Airbender, more specifically in one of the CB episodes, there's even one where Zuko, a firebender, is shown bending lava by creating a giant wave of it, which is an ability that actually belongs to earthbenders, due to lava being molten earth, like it is shown on the next Avatar series, The Legend of Korra, further showing how easy it is to mistake lava as being fire-based. So, now the question remains, should I do like the majority of franchises and just include magma/lava on the fiery energy? Should I make fiery energy and magmatic energy two distinct types of energy? Which honestly is the option that I'm mostly satisfied with. Or should I mix the two with a unique name that makes sense for both to share the same category, like heat energy? We already have frost energy, so why not also have the heat energy? I'm going to be honest, I'm not 100% sold on any of these options yet. The option that I like the least is the just having magma being a part of the fiery energy. The one that I'm most fond of is the fiery and magmatic energies as separate, and I also like the heat energy concept. So for this matter, I really would like to hear your thoughts on the comment section so we can talk more about this on a future video. Also, do you know how Pokemon can only have up to 2 types? Well, I think that a maximum of 2 types is plenty reasonable. If a lot of Pokemon had 3 or 4 types, it would be kinda messy. Like, it happens with Dragon City and it's fun, but it can also get way too messy. But despite that, are cases where certain Pokemon should be allowed to have more than 2 types, like with Kyurem and Flygon for example. Kyurem in its black and white forms, which are fusions between it, Zekrom and Reshiram respectively. It would make sense for the fusion forms to add the missing types from the respective fused dragons, making them have 3 types each instead of just having Kyurems. I believe that this is a case where 2 exceptions could be made, especially because they are legendary. With more common Pokemon like Flygon, it's more understandable they not doing this. Because even though Bug and Flying are 2 other types that also fit its design pretty well, if they were to make this with common Pokemon, then the exception could become a bit of a norm and end up in a messy typing situation. Like some YouTubers like Wolfie already talked about in video, explaining how it would affect technically aspects as damage calculations. But the discussion that the Pokemon fanbase has around this topic is still pretty valid, and so I decided, at least for now, that in my project, even though 1 or 2 energies is still going to be the norm, like for 99% of the creatures, if I make some creatures that are plausible cases for having 3 or even more energies, then they will have the 3 or more energies. There is no limit per se, just the norm. I already have some concepts in mind, more precisely a Kyurem situation, and also while writing the script I thought that could be fun if some sort of scientist created a robot creature with like 10 energies and it would be some sort of final boss. I don't know, just something that quickly crossed my mind. Another concept that I have are the body types, which basically work as a secondary type classification based on the main body material that the respective creature is made of, and in some cases reversed in. For example, Pinglux would be frost energy and body type flesh, while some sort of ice crab would be frost energy but body type carapace. Honestly, I liked this concept a lot when I first came up with it, as I thought that it was also a great way to innovate and differentiate from other elemental systems, but it could end up being too much. So I'm just gonna talk a bit more about this concept to clarify it, but as right now I'm thinking about not going with it. I would appreciate if you guys tell me what you would think about it in the comment section after hearing the full explanation. So, flesh and keratin would be the most common body types. For the people who are unfamiliar with that word, keratin is the material of which carapaces, cells, nails and scales are made of. So instead of having the carapace body type, we would say keratin body type to include all natural hard body type materials. And even though hair and fur are also made of keratin, due to them being soft instead of hard like the other ones, they're going to be considered their own body type called fur, for the same reason that water and ice are often considered different elements across many franchises, even though they are literally the same thing but in 2 different states. Some energies can also be body types. For example, if a creature is completely made of water, then even though water is a energy type, it would also be this creature's body type. When it comes to creatures made of elements like earth, they will have more specified body types like sand or rock. The same happens with frost, that will be subdivided into ice and snow. And the reason for this happening is that these materials have different reactions to different elements. For example, materials like sand and snow have great sound absorption, while ice, due to being a crystal-like material, can be shattered by high-frequency sounds, just like we see happening with glass in many medias. Which means that while creatures made of snow will be resistant to sonic energy attacks,
creatures made of ice will be weak to it.
Basically, every time two different materials that belong to the same element have a good reason to have different resistances or weaknesses, they would be considered two different body types. Too complicated? I hope not. And one of the most interesting body types would be the spirit one. Due to the popularity of the ghost type in the monster taming era, I thought about creating a spirit or phantom element. But then I realized that it would make more sense as a body type. Of course, if we decide to not go with the whole body types idea, then I would just make spiritual energy a thing, which would be pretty nice. And that's basically it for the body types. Tell me what you think about this idea in the comments, as I'll be very eager to read all of them. Another aspect of the elemental system that I should talk about are the 4 times weaknesses and resistance. As most of you are familiar with, when a creature that is hit by an attack of an element of which it is weak to, it receives double damage from that hit. But if, for example, a Pokemon that has 2 types that share a weakness, let's say if a Pokemon that is both ice and grass type, like Abomasnow, is hit with a fire type move, due to both grass and ice being weak to fire, instead of receiving double damage, it actually receives quadruple the damage. Monster taming games where the monsters only have one element each don't have to think about implementing or not the 4 times weaknesses gimmick, but that is not the case for this project. And so after thinking a while about it, I decided that it would be better if there were no 4 times weaknesses and resistance. At least for now. As we discuss and talk more, pretty much anything could sense, but right now, as the release of this video, this is the direction that I'm most inclined to. So if a creature has 2 energies that are both weak to water, for example, it would just take double damage and not quadruple damage. And the same thing applies for resistance. But what about the immunities? Pokemon has some. Ghost types are immune to normal and fighting types, ground types are immune to electric types, flying types are immune to ground types, and dark types are immune to psychic. For now, I don't have any energy immunities planned, but I'm going to be honest, I actually haven't thought much about the immunities up to this point. So for now I'm going to say that there aren't any, but it's possible that I come up with one in the future. And that's all for today's video. If you like it, don't forget to like and comment. Your feedback is always much appreciated. And see you on the next one. Bye!